Anyway, Josh, what do we know?
Yeah, Scott, we did just get that statement from Apple. Let me give it to you. Apple saying the App Store is not in violation of antitrust law. Company saying it remains committed to ensuring the App Store is a safe and trusted marketplace that supports a thriving developer community. So obviously, Scott, this is a historic high-profile antitrust fight between Apple and Epic. The judge here saying that Apple is issuing a decision where Apple won 9 of 10 counts. She said Apple was not a monopolist. Success is not illegal. She says the court cannot ultimately conclude that Apple is a monopolist under either federal or state antitrust laws. But she did say that Apple does engage in anti-competitive conduct. It's going to be forced to change its App Store policy. Specifically, Scott, she says she's ordering an injunction that says Apple will no longer be allowed to prohibit developers from offering links that direct users away from Apple's in-app purchasing system. It will remain to be seen if this does become a rule. One open question there investors will have to think about, even if given the opportunity to use an alternative payment system, how many consumers, Scott, will ultimately take advantage of that? Back to you.
I thought, as we think about, Josh, the way that investors, and we're going to talk to for them in a moment, and I want you to stay with me for that, because everybody in the committee does own this stock. The way that Neely Patel of The Verge sort of summed this up in the prior hour as the guys were talking about this story, a sweeping win for Apple, but Epic won where it mattered. That's how he put it into perspective. Is that how you see it as well?
Well, one is, Scott, it'll be interesting whether this fight continues. Is there going to be an immediate appeal? There were plenty of analysts on CNBC who were at least assuming this could be very well the first round. There'll be appeals. That's why some of them thought this fight could actually go on for years as it moves through the courts. What this judge is going after here is this anti-steering clause, right? So initially, what she's saying here is, if you're a developer, you're going to have to, Apple's going to have to allow developers to contact their customers and guide them to alternative payment systems. I think it is interesting there because Apple has already made moves in that direction, right? The App Store has been under scrutiny from different regulators and lawmakers, and you have seen Apple making adjustments, big ones. Just recently, right, we saw them make adjustments when it comes to those so-called media apps, and that would include companies like your Netflixes and your Spotifys. Apple's now saying, okay, you guys can now offer in-app links to your websites. And Apple made a change saying developers can now contact their customers directly via email with these alternative payment systems. So you're seeing different moves here. Of course, what Apple's adversaries and critics really want, Scott, they want much more than change these steering clauses. We've had them on this network. They are hammering the table here for much more dramatic changes. They want third-party app stores. They want alternative payment systems in the App Store. That's not what we're getting here so far.
How do we quantify, though, what the loss of this most important part of the case, I think you could characterize it as, really means for Apple's bottom line? I mean, I think at the end of the day, that's what matters most.
Yeah, so obviously, listen, investors are paying very close attention to this. Apple doesn't break out the App Store for us, but we know it is a very important part of that higher margin services business. If you talk to financial analysts, they're going to estimate the App Store probably accounts for 30% of services revenue. Now, I think, listen, if this does become the rule, you have to then try to gauge how would consumers' behavior change because of that? If I gave Scott the opportunity to use an alternative payment system, would you really do that, Scott? Or would you think, using this in-app payment system, I'm used to it, it's efficient, it's effective, I understand it. There's sort of a convenience factor. Gene Munster of Loop Ventures was just on CNBC. Everybody's trying their best guess to figure out the impact. He thought ultimately it was important, but Gene thought his best guess is the actual financial impact could be fractional, Scott.